Welcome back, Focus Fanatics. In this video, I'm going to show you a new feature available in version 7.4, build 16.4.1. The new feature is called Increment Guest by Set Amount. In the past, we've been able to increment the guest count by item, so as you select items, the guest count is incremented, so 2 entrees equals 2 guests. But now we can increment the guest count by a set amount for instances where an item is worth more than 1 guest. Maybe a pizza or an item like a dinner for 2 or something to that effect. So first I'm going to show you how to set it up, and then I'll show you how it works. So if you're going to use increment by guest or increment guest by item, you want to have a couple basic things configured first. You want to have your location's default number of guests set to 0, because as you add the menu items, the guest count is going to increment. Okay? Secondly, if you're using a floor plan, you'll want to set the tables to have a default count of 0 as well, for the same reasoning as I just mentioned. You don't want to start with a guest, because when you hit your first entree, it's going to increment that guest to 1. Once you do that, you need to set your menu items to increment guest count as well. So you go into your entrees and you set them all to increment guest. Now this ability has been here for a while, but what is new is the ability to set the number of guests that entree or item increments the count by. So you go ahead and select the Other Options tab, and you will now see the included guest box here, or the increment guest box here. And this is where you would set the number of guests that item counts for. Now 0 will increment the number of guests by 1, so this way you don't need to go into each item that's incrementing guest and set it to 1. If the item has the checkbox increment guest and the count is 0, it will increment by 1. If you don't want it to increment, then don't select this checkbox increment guest. But if you do want the item to increment and you want it to increment by 2 or 4 or 3, this is where you would set that. So for a pizza, we're going to go into our pizza and we're going to set this item to increment by 4. And for our dinner for 2, we're going to go ahead and set this to increment by 2 guests. Okay? We're going to go ahead and hit save and close and go see how this works in the front of the house. So I'm going to log in here as server number 20. And select a table, and you'll see that the guest count in the header is guest set to 0. So now I'm going to select an entree, and it's going to increase that number of guests to 1. If I select my pizza, I now jump to 5 because we set it to increase by 4. And then if I go ahead and select my dinner for 2, then it will increase my count 2 more people for a total of 7 guests on my guest check. Pretty cool. And now if I'm using our other new feature, beverage requirement by guest, I would be required to have 7 beverages on this check before I can actually print the guest check. Or it can prompt me for a warning. Just depends on how I have it set up. But that's our new feature, Increment Guest by Set Amount. I hope this feature benefits both you and your customers. And until next time, stay focused.